Narcissistic Triangulation. Phrases, tactics, examples.
Have you ever felt like a marionette with your strings ruthlessly yanked by a demented puppeteer? Welcome to the twisted triangulation games of the narcissist, the Cruella de Vil of mind manipulation. They play human ping pong with your emotions just to watch you squirm for their amusement. 1 minute they're stroking your ego. The next they're swatting you down by comparing you to some ex who apparently poops rainbows and farts butterflies. Triangulation is the narcissist's cocktail of choice, a sadistic mix of deception, jealousy, and drama that makes them drunk with power as they watch you dance. Have you ever felt like a bunny boiling alive as the narcissist turns up the heat on your emotions? Triangulation is one of their cruelest mind games, a relationship stew seasoned heavily with lies, jealousy, and betrayal just to watch you squirm. 1 minute they're stroking your ego, the next they're swatting you down by comparing you to some ex who farts rainbows and craps butterflies. Share your triangulation war stories in the comments. Which manipulation myths ring most true? If you've been fortunate enough to dodge the triangulation bullet so far, just wait. These emotional vampires collect flying monkeys like Pokemon cards. My video, Narcissistic Triangulation Signs, How They Triangulate to Control, and What You Can Do to Stop Tactics, will help you prepare for the shitstorm that's brewing. And if you're confused about going no contact after being triangulated, watch my video, How to Detach Yourself from a Narcissist. These 6 steps will set you free for clarity. It's time to break free from these puppet masters once and for all. The link of these video will be in the description below. How do these emotional puppeteers suck you into their sneaky triangulation tactics? Now let's explore the real people using triangulation in depth.
Turning in-laws against her.
In our next vignette, we witness triangulation through turning in-laws against her. The husband notices his in-laws praising his wife's parenting skills, so later he spitefully tells extended family she is an unstable, negligent mother. Though the wife defends herself, the seeds of distrust are planted.
Can you believe my family actually thinks you're a good mom? Such idiots.
Why would you try to make them doubt me like that?
So in this illustration of triangulation tactics, the narcissistic husband attempts to undermine his wife's reputation with fabricated criticisms. His deceitful words plant suspicion and erode her support system. This serves to isolate the wife while boosting the husband's position of power.
Covert contact with ex.
In our next scene, we see triangulation through covert contact with an ex. When his wife asks about a gift from his ex Liz, the husband hides the evidence and accuses her of paranoid freakouts, refusing to respect her feelings. This dismissal covers his boundary-violating triangulation.
Hey, it's just a book. Stop interrogating me. I knew you'd wig out.
But Liz is your ex. I wish she respected my discomfort.
Here the husband uses gaslighting and redirection to conceal inappropriate contact. This leaves the wife feeling dismissed, disrespected, and confused. The husband's secrecy and manipulation triangulates the ex while distancing his wife.
Publicly ogling other women.
In our next vignette, we witness public humiliation triangulation. The narcissistic husband openly and excessively checks out attractive women in front of his wife at a party. When she gets upset, he demeans her as pathetic and controlling, successfully manufacturing public humiliation.
Don't make a jealous scene. You're embarrassing yourself.
How could you blatantly ogle women in front of me?
In this illustration, the husband cruelly triangulates other women to provoke his wife's jealousy. His public ogling, then belittling of her reaction, demeans and disempowers the wife. This establishes the husband's dominance while inflicting ego injury.
Flaunting social life without her.
In our next scene, we see triangulation through flaunting a social life. The self-absorbed husband brags to his excluded wife about fun outings, inside jokes, and new friends she's not part of. When she feels hurt, he berates her as needy and friendless.
We had such a blast last night. Too bad you missed out.
I wish you'd include me sometimes instead of rubbing it in.
Here, the husband triangulates new friends to generate jealousy and loneliness. His callous flaunting followed by insult amplifies the wife's isolation and anguish.
Withholding affection as punishment.
In our next vignette, we witness emotional triangulation. The narcissistic husband gives his wife the silent treatment and withholds affection after a disagreement. When she becomes upset, he demeans her need for closeness.
Get off me. Needy as always.
Why won't you show me any warmth or kindness?
In this illustration, the husband triangulates by cutting off intimacy as punishment. His cold withdrawal, followed by criticism, leaves his wife feeling rejected and worthless.
Confiding in female friends.
In our next scene, we see triangulation through inappropriate emotional intimacy. The husband often texts a female friend at all hours, sharing private marital details. When his wife objects, he accuses her of being irrational and controlling.
You're paranoid. She's just a friend. Don't be crazy.
But you share things with her that should stay between us.
Here, the husband uses gaslighting to conceal his triangulation of the female friend against his wife. His intimate, confiding crossed boundaries, creating distrust and hurt.
Undermining with known insecurities.
In our next vignette, we witness emotional abuse triangulation. The narcissistic boyfriend uses his girlfriend's vulnerability about weight to manipulate and degrade her during an argument.
No wonder you have no self-control, fatty.
That was so cruel. You know I struggle with body image.
In this illustration, the boyfriend strategically triangulates her insecurity to inflict maximum damage. His cutting remark reopens past wounds, leaving his girlfriend feeling devastated.
Comparing unfavorably to
In our next scene, we see triangulation through comparison. The narcissistic girlfriend complains her boyfriend lacks the exciting lifestyle and success that her ex Brandon had. This invidious comparison is meant to devalue.
Brandon took me on real vacations and could actually pay his bills.
Why compare me to some ex I've never even met?
The girlfriend triangulates the ex as superior to provoke jealousy and shame. This diminishes her current partner, establishing her position of judgment and power in the relationship.
openly discussing private life.
In our next vignette, we witness social humiliation triangulation. The narcissistic wife openly discusses her husband's erectile dysfunction with her friends over drinks, despite his requests for discretion. She betrays his trust to demean him.
Can you believe Tony can't even get it up anymore? So embarrassing.
How could you tell people my private medical issue?
Here, the wife publicly triangulates to inflict shame and disempowerment. Her choice to openly humiliate his vulnerability erodes intimacy while boosting her own ego.
Sabotaging social relationships.
In our next scene, we see network triangulation. The narcissistic husband demeans his wife to their friends behind her back, portraying her as unstable and irrational. His smear campaign sabotages her credibility and relationships.
Our friends seem distant. What did you say about me?
They probably just sensed you're too sensitive. Don't blame me.
The husband strategically triangulates the wife's friend network, undermining her social connections. This isolates her while expanding his own sphere of influence and control.
Flirting with her friend.
In our next vignette, we witness romantic triangulation. The husband openly flirts with his wife's best friend in front of her at a barbecue. When she protests, he accuses her of overreacting.
Relax. We were just chatting. Don't freak out.
You were clearly crossing the line right in front of me.
Here, the husband brazenly triangulates the wife's friend. His public flirting and dismissal of her feelings creates distrust and jealousy. This establishes his power while devaluing his wife.
Withholding important information.
In our next scene, we see exclusion triangulation. The narcissistic boyfriend keeps his wife in the dark about financial issues, business trips, and other key decisions that affect her. He then berates her for being uninformed and uninvolved.
How clueless can you be? No wonder I handle everything myself.
You never tell me anything, then get mad when I don't know.
In this case, the boyfriend's secrecy triangulates vital information to foster dependence, exclusion, and self-doubt. His demeaning criticism compounds the manipulation.
Deliberately causing jealousy.
In our next vignette, we witness jealousy triangulation. The narcissistic girlfriend frequently comments on other men she finds attractive to provoke her partner's jealousy. When he expresses discomfort, she belittles him as insecure.
That bartender was so hot his muscles were insane. Why are you so jealous?
It really bothers me when you gush about other guys.
Here, the girlfriend contemptuously triangulates to incite envy in her partner. His protest is met with shaming and invalidation, disregarding his feelings.
Threats of infidelity.
In our next scene, we see intimidation triangulation. During arguments, the narcissistic boyfriend threatens to cheat or leave the relationship to instill anxiety in his girlfriend. This deliberate fear tactic maintains control.
Keep whining and I'll find someone hotter who appreciates me.
I'm just trying to communicate. Please don't threaten to stray.
The boyfriend strategically triangulates potential infidelity to terrify his girlfriend into submission. This emotional blackmail keeps her on edge, cementing his dominance.
Playing victim with friends.
In our next vignette, we witness reputation triangulation. After a fight, the narcissistic wife complains to all her friends that her husband is cruel and abusive, portraying herself as the blameless victim.
I can't take this abuse anymore.
Telling people false stories just to smear me is so wrong.
Here, the wife spins dishonest narratives to triangulate the couple's social circle. She embezzles sympathy while destroying her husband's reputation. This consolidates her control and ego.
Withholding physical affection.
In our next vignette, we witness emotional triangulation. The narcissistic wife frequently rejects her husband's romantic advances, then berates him as undesirable when he feels hurt.
Stop being so needy. It's pathetic.
I just want to feel wanted by my own wife.
Here, the wife triangulates physical affection to inflict rejection and shame. Her coldness and criticism attack her husband's self-esteem, establishing her position of judgment and control.
Befriending a hated ex.
In our next scene, we see network triangulation. The narcissistic boyfriend starts frequently befriending his girlfriend's abusive ex, despite her objections. He belittles her concerns.
Don't tell me who I can be friends with. You're just too controlling.
Nah, you know how much he mistreated me. I feel so betrayed.
The boyfriend's choice to ally with the hated ex triangulates the girlfriend's support system. This exhibits a callous disregard for her feelings and boundaries.
Gossiping with neighbors.
In our next vignette, we witness reputation triangulation. The narcissistic husband openly discusses his marital troubles and paints himself as the victim to gain the neighbor's sympathy.
My wife is so unstable and abusive, I had to get away for a bit.
How could you gossip about me to gain their pity? You betrayed my trust.
Here, the husband spins falsehoods to recruit neighbors as flying monkeys against his wife, destroying her credibility and social connections. This serves to isolate her while gathering ego strokes for himself.
Rejecting family activities.
In our next scene, we see exclusion triangulation. The narcissistic wife frequently declines family outings with her husband and kids, later throwing it in their faces that she has her own fun life without them.
I was out late again with my friends last night. You all would have bored me anyway.
He hurts when you skip our plans just to shame us about your great social life.
The wife's habitual rejection triangulates family intimacy to cultivate jealousy and loneliness. Her cruel flaunting compounds the harm, bolstering her sense of superiority.
Strategic seduction.
In our next vignette, we witness romantic triangulation. The narcissistic husband dresses provocatively and flirts suggestively with the new female neighbor, enjoying making his wife feel jealous and threatened.
Sorry you're so insecure. We're just being friendly. Don't worry about it.
Your behavior with her is totally inappropriate. Please have some respect.
Here the husband deliberately manufactures a flirtation to triangulate and upset his wife. His feigned innocence masks his exploitative power play.
Enmeshed with mother.
In our next scene, we see family triangulation. The narcissistic husband maintains an inappropriately intense and enmeshed relationship with his mother, prioritizing her over his wife's needs.
Stop being so dramatic. You're always number one to me.
Why do you share things with your mom that should stay between us?
The husband's excessive intimacy with his mother triangulates the marital bond, creating distrust and exclusion for the wife. His dismissal of her concern further harms the relationship.
Rewriting marital history.
In our next vignette, we witness gaslighting triangulation. The narcissistic wife constantly distorts past arguments and conflicts, portraying herself as the innocent victim to their friends.
Remember how abusive he was? I still have PTSD from living with his rage all those years.
That's a total false narrative, and you know it. Friends, please don't believe her lies.
Here, the wife strategically rewrites history to recruit friends against her husband. This undermines his credibility and consolidates her control through deception.
Withholding important conversations.
In our next scene, we see exclusion triangulation. The narcissistic boyfriend keeps his girlfriend separate from important financial discussions with family, then berates her as too uninvolved.
It's not my fault you're too passive and checked out to be included.
But you intentionally leave me out, then criticize me for not knowing things.
His exclusion triangulates key conversations, fostering dependence and self-doubt. His demeaning criticism compounds her confusion and isolation.
Manipulating family finances.
In our next vignette, we witness financial triangulation. The narcissistic wife spends recklessly without consulting her husband, then blames him as financially irresponsible when she overdraws their accounts.
This is what happens when I let you control our money. From now on, I'm taking over.
You spent thousands without telling me, then blame me for the overdrafts. How is that my fault?
Here, the wife manufactures financial chaos to seize control while scapegoating her husband, severely damaging trust and stability in the relationship.
Parental alienation.
In our next scene, we see family triangulation. The narcissistic ex-wife trash talks her children's father to turn them against him, sabotaging his relationship and parental authority.
Your father never cared about you. I'm the only one who loves you.
Please stop poisoning them against me. It's sick what you're doing.
The ex-wife exploits the children as pawns, pitting them against their own father through toxic triangulation. This inflicts deep emotional trauma on all involved. Here, the husband deliberately showcases provocative online interactions to triangulate his wife's emotions and self-esteem. His callous dismissal of her pain exacerbates the harm. I hope sharing war stories about narcissistic head games has helped you feel less alone and crazy in this narcissist-infested world. Make sure to vent about your triangulation nightmares. In the comments, it's therapeutic to expose these emotional vampires. And if you still have urges to keep taking the narcissist's bait after they've hooked you, reeled you in, and filleted you emotionally, definitely reach out. I have resources to help exorcise your demon lover so you can be permanently done with their sick puppetry and final act as the ultimate marionette master. This community is proof that narcissistic abuse survivors can saw through their strings, flip their abusers the bird, and fly free. Your support through donations, likes, and subscribes allows me to keep producing resources to raise awareness and empower victims to become survivors. Let's continue exposing narcissists as the puppet masters of Crazy Town, because the truth will finally cut their strings for good.